Hello there, wonderful people. Welcome to Pratik Finance Facts, your go-to place for intriguing insights into the world of finance and more. Today, we're diving into an interesting psychological concept that might just change the way you approach your tasks and goals. It's called the Zeigarnik Effect. Now, you might be wondering, what on earth is the Zeigarnik Effect? In simple terms, it's a phenomenon that makes us remember unfinished tasks more than the completed ones. It's like that nagging feeling you get when you've started something and haven't quite finished it yet. It's a powerful motivator, a productivity booster, but it also has its darker side. Intriguing, isn't it? So buckle up as we prepare to delve deeper into the fascinating world of the Zeigarnik Effect. Stay tuned. The Zeigarnik Effect isn't a new age concept. It has a rich history dating back to the early 20th century. Let's take a trip down memory lane back to the bustling streets of 1920s Berlin. Here, a young Russian psychologist named Bluma Zeigarnik was enjoying a meal at a local cafe. As she observed the waitstaff hustling to and fro, she noticed something peculiar. The waiters seemed to have a remarkable ability to remember complex orders that were yet to be served. Yet, once the orders were completed, the details seemed to vanish from their minds like smoke in the wind. This piqued Zeigarnik's curiosity. She wondered, why do incomplete tasks linger in our memory, while completed ones seem to slip away? This observation led Zeigarnik back to her research lab, where she conducted a series of experiments to understand this phenomenon better. Participants were asked to perform a number of tasks. Some were allowed to complete their tasks, while others were interrupted and could not finish. What she discovered was a revelation. Those who were interrupted remembered their tasks far better than those who were allowed to complete them. Zeigarnik concluded that an incomplete task creates a state of tension in our minds, a sort of cognitive itch that we're motivated to scratch. This tension acts as a mental reminder, nudging us to seek closure by completing the task. This was the birth of what we now know as the Zeigarnik Effect. The Zeigarnik Effect does not just apply to waiters and research participants. It's a universal phenomenon that affects us all, whether we're juggling work deadlines, studying for exams, or even just trying to remember the grocery list. So, you see, the Zeigarnik Effect is deeply rooted in our daily life, even in something as simple as serving a meal at a restaurant. Now that we know where it came from, let's understand the science behind the Zeigarnik Effect. So what's happening in our brains when we experience the Zeigarnik Effect? It all centers around a concept called cognitive tension. This is a kind of mental discomfort that our brain creates when we leave a task unfinished. You know that nagging feeling you get when you start something and then leave it midway? That's cognitive tension at work. Our brain, being the problem-solving machine that it is, doesn't like things left incomplete. It's like having a puzzle with a missing piece. It just doesn't sit well with us. This tension acts as a constant reminder of the task that needs completing, kind of like an internal alarm clock that doesn't have a snooze button. Now, here's where it gets interesting. When we finally do complete the task, we experience a sense of relief. The tension dissipates, and we get this satisfying feeling of closure. This is because our brain releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter that's often associated with feelings of pleasure and satisfaction. It's the brain's way of rewarding us for resolving the tension and completing the task. But it's not just about the satisfaction of completing a task. The Zeigarnik Effect also improves our memory retention. Since our brain is constantly reminding us about the unfinished task, it's more likely that we'll remember it. So, in a way, the Zeigarnik Effect is a helpful tool for boosting our memory. To summarize, the Zeigarnik Effect is a psychological phenomenon where our brain creates cognitive tension when a task is left unfinished. This tension motivates us to complete the task, and when we do, we experience a sense of relief and satisfaction. Not only does it push us to finish what we started, but it also helps us remember things better. So the Zeigarnik Effect is actually your brain pushing you to finish what you started. Wondering how this all relates to productivity? Let's explore that. You see, the Zeigarnik Effect is not just a fascinating psychological phenomenon, it's also a powerful tool for boosting productivity. When we leave tasks unfinished, our brain keeps them in an active, readily accessible state. It's like our mind's own sticky note, reminding us of the work that still needs to be done. This tension created by unfinished tasks motivates us to seek closure, driving us to complete our tasks. So, how can we harness this effect to improve our productivity? One strategy is to use to-do lists. By writing down our tasks, we create a physical representation of the work that needs to be completed. Each item on that list represents an unfinished task, triggering the Zeigarnik Effect. As we cross off each item, we experience a sense of satisfaction and closure, freeing up mental space for other tasks. Another strategy is to break larger tasks into smaller, more manageable parts. Each part becomes its own task, once again triggering the Zeigarnik effect. By focusing on completing these smaller tasks, we can make steady progress towards our larger goals without feeling overwhelmed. Plus, each time we complete a part, we get that satisfying sense of closure, encouraging us to keep going. But there's a catch. We must be careful to not let our to-do lists become too long or our tasks too small. If we do, we risk becoming overwhelmed by the sheer volume of tasks or getting caught up in the minutiae and losing sight of our larger goals. The key is balance. By understanding how our brains work and by planning and organizing our tasks strategically, we can harness the power of the Zeigarnik effect to boost our productivity. With a little understanding of our brain's workings and some strategic planning, we can use the Zeigarnik effect to our advantage. Like all good things, the Zeigarnik effect too has a downside. This psychological phenomenon, while a powerful force for productivity, also carries with it some potential pitfalls. One of the most significant risks arising from the Zeigarnik effect is the potential for increased stress. The human brain is wired to seek resolution, to close loops and finish tasks. When we have too many open loops or unfinished tasks, the brain's tension can mount, leading to heightened stress levels. This tension can become overwhelming, particularly in today's fast-paced world, where we're often juggling multiple tasks and responsibilities simultaneously. The Zeigarnik effect can also inadvertently promote procrastination. It might seem contradictory, given that this effect is all about the compulsion to finish tasks. But here's the thing, the brain can sometimes confuse the sense of tension created by unfinished tasks with actual progress. This can lead to a false sense of accomplishment, causing us to put off the real task completion. So we might feel productive when we're merely busy, not necessarily effective. Moreover, the Zeigarnik effect can foster a more is better mentality, leading us to take on more tasks than we can realistically handle. Our desire to resolve tension can push us to bite off more than we can chew, leading to burnout. It's important to remember that while the Zeigarnik effect can be a fantastic tool for enhancing productivity, it's not a magic bullet. Like any tool, it needs to be used wisely and with caution. We need to manage our tasks effectively, keeping our workloads manageable, and ensuring that we're not just busy, but productive. So while the Zeigarnik effect can be a powerful productivity enhancer, it's important to strike a balance to prevent it from becoming a stress inducer. We must use this psychological principle as a guide, not a rule, and always remember that our mental well-being is just as important as our productivity. So there you have it, the world of the Zeigarnik effect. We've journeyed through the concept, its origins, and the fascinating science that underpins it. We've seen how this psychological phenomenon, named after psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik, works in our brains, making interrupted or incomplete tasks more memorable than completed ones. We've also explored how it can be a powerful tool for boosting productivity, from leveraging to-do lists to breaking tasks into manageable components. But remember, while it can be a potent motivator, it requires careful application to prevent negative impacts on mental well-being and avoid falling into the procrastination trap. It's all about finding that fine balance to harness the Zeigarnik effect to your advantage. Thank you for joining us today at Pratik Finance Facts. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning.